In this video, we're going to talk about making a creative campaign on a budget. My name is Spencer Lime. For anybody who hasn't seen the videos, I started a brand in 2012 called Gully Garms. I had to change routes because of the way that it went, and I'm here now wanting to give value back and teaching lessons and things that I've learned about this industry because I've been in it for so long. Today, I wanted to talk about creating a campaign on a budget. So when we talk about a campaign, we're talking about when you have a brand or you have a storefront and you want to help get more traction to your site. You want to get more views, you want to get more traffic, and as a result you want to get more conversions. And one of the aspects of how I used to do it, especially when I had my own website, I still do, but when I was pushing and funneling it, was creating campaigns. The ways that I made campaigns was never something that I did on a direct budget. I always used models that I'd sourced. I used myself as the photographer. I picked locations that were local. The main aspect of what I invested in was either the models or the product line that I invested in. So sometimes what I did is I even bought stock in for campaigns, knowing that what I wanted to make from this, I was investing in the product as a result of the campaign as well. Ways that we can kind of look at creating campaigns on a budget is to double down on every single aspect that would potentially cost you money. The elements that you have to consider when you do a campaign or you create one is the electronics, the technology that you're using to capture it, the subject matter that is representing that product, the accessibility of the location wherever it's being done. Maybe you want to do a campaign on a white backdrop on a floor with no models and just flat lay items or stop motion animation. That would cost you nothing but your time and the products that you bought, unless you was hiring a studio. To kind of centralize down to the point, it comes down to a few pillars of focus that I would look at with whenever we think of a campaign. The way that you look at the technology, I'm assuming if you have a store already, you have a phone or you have a camera, even better if you have a camera. As somebody who comes from a photography background, I am a big advocate of cameras over iPhones. However, there is a lot of argument to suggest that you can make pretty solid content, 4K quality stuff from iPhones. You can use an iPhone to create a campaign and you can understand the different settings that you have on a camera. Again, one big element of creating something on a budget is that if you are not wanting to spend that money out on something, you have to be willing to try and error with your time on different aspects of the job. So whether you're not a photographer by heart, but you want to be the photographer, you have to spend time testing out your ability as a photographer. Is that taking photos of products? Is that using a model for motion, however it is? Some things that I used to do, I've been a photographer for like 15 to 16 years. I just had a concept that came to me of what we did before, and this was something pretty much on a budget. I had one member of staff and we went to a local park that was near us, and what I wanted to capture was items in motion, and we got these cool Nike sweatshirts. The guy that I had employed was throwing them in the air and I was zoomed in at taking photos of the item. The campaign itself and the concept of that was executed perfectly, and the time of how long it took was maybe an hour and a half of throwing a sweatshirt up in the air 100 times, maybe 150 times in a few different places to get that perfect shot. Then obviously it's all the post-production of uplifting the colors, changing contrast and brightness and exposure and saturation and all those sorts of things, grading the product, making sure it still sit in line with what it was, and making sure that there was a point to the purpose of what it was that I was saying about the pictures. To go back to the point about creating a concept on a budget, you might have a TikTok page and you just want to make content easy. I know that CapCut is an easy thing that we use. I know that people just do flat lays. That's the process and the content, and that might work for you. I don't know if you do the content just because you want to have some visible proof that you're a brand. I think that having models isn't the most affordable way of creating content. However, it kind of sits back to what the intention of the content is. If this is just for you to advertise your brand on TikTok, maybe that isn't something that you need to invest in, as in you don't need to invest in having models. You don't need to invest in this high res sort of image. If you're somebody that has a website, you really want to try a different image, you want to try a new look, I would advise and I would recommend working with people to represent your product. Whether if I was a secondhand bookseller, I would be finding cool cobbled streets, little corner coffee shops, or I'd be going to an old museum style library. I would be taking somebody to read a book. I would be working on a concept. It might sound sounds silly. You think you don't need to see a person reading a book to want to buy a book off a secondhand seller. Putting a person in that shop creates a feel, and as a result, you are eliciting emotion to somebody who is seeing that, and therefore making them think, maybe I should get back into reading books. Maybe I should look at which cool books this person's got. Because the easiest thing to use is a person, because everybody is a person, so you can use something that is a reference to everybody. If I look at a photo of, or if someone's created a cool campaign on a budget of an item on the floor, I don't have any personal resonation to this brand or this product. Maybe I like the edit, maybe the edit is what sells it. Not having a person relating to that really would make me struggle to invest in it. The way that we do people on a budget with integrating it is you get in connection with your friendship group. You get in connection with the circle of people that you have around you. One thing that I did was when I was doing a brand is, that was probably what helped me be very sociable at the time, is I connected with people. I found people that I liked and I said, I want you to wear my clothes. I want you to do this. I didn't say I want you to, I was going to pay people, but I went out and I had a vision in mind and I found the people that sat with that vision. It didn't sit at the most affordable point at the beginning, and it was only that when I created my own casting days that I sourced models at a more affordable price and I factored that cost in. That was still one of the best decisions, having a casting. If we look at ways that you can create content on a budget, I would say you have to look at all the pillars of what it is you have. Technology, the use of the iPhone, the use of the camera, the subject matter, whether it's on a studio, like just as a flat lay, whether you use a model, the subject matter is just whether it needs somebody else or whether you're going to create a masterpiece on your own. The location and the destination, whether it's outside, whether it's indoors, whether you're using the side of a ward, whatever it is, however you're masking this idea, they are the 3 points of focus. And I would say, look at all 3 points, look at the technology, look at the subject matter, and look at the location. Ask yourself which one you can compromise the cost for. The location is obviously the easiest one for it to be free. You can go outside, life is going on, and there's places that you can find that can elicit an emotion or create a good aspect or a good angle. The subject matter is also subjective. It totally depends on whether you want a model, whether you're happy to just shoot it on the floor. Arguments that I will have for models versus flat lays at different points, but right now I would say that just look at, that subject matter. Do you want somebody, or are you happy to create a concept on your own? The most popular thing I'm seeing at the moment for people who aren't using models, flat lays in a stop motion animation. So creating a concept with a video and it's just a moving video. There's somebody at the moment who does that you should check out on TikTok if you want some inspiration. His name is Clout Closet on TikTok, and I must say, give a round of applause to him. He's done a really good job at creating this stop animation theme. He's made it his brand and he's got like 100K followers. And the other point is the technology. Everybody's got a phone that you can work, and you probably have cameras. I would say though, one thing that is pretty cool, and it's not overused yet if you are a creative person, is buying old cameras that work, sort of video cameras or old, 50mm point and shoot cameras. That concept of nostalgia sits very well with secondhand and the vintage economy. I mean, vintage sits on the memory of something with age and time, and people like vintage because it takes them back to a time where it was probably a really popular item back in the day, or it was worn in its time. Do you know what I mean? The way that you shoot the product creates that extra nostalgia, and also those cameras are on a super budget. They're the 3 points I would sort of sit with. Have a little think about those 3. If you're somebody who's making content, if it's TikTok, even just a banner to put outside your shop, whatever it is, there's some element of content that you have to creatively make dependent on where you're at, maybe make on a budget. So that's what I would say. I hope that video finds you well, and there might be a couple videos here if you want to check them out. Hopefully I figured out how to do that by now. Hopefully it's not too complex. If not, I'm just doing that. I've got 50 other videos. I post one a day, every day at 6:30 p.m. Check them out and let me know what you think. And yeah, happy